Excellent. Excellent. So welcome everyone to our Young and Brave program. It's always a joy to connect and share with you all. Today we are going to be looking at a very, very important topic that pertains to a lot of us, because I believe a majority of us here are parents or parents to be. So today we are going to be looking at Parenting 101. Okay, and we are going to be having two topics intertwined. So I will not be going into details. Actually, this parenting program is, we actually have a special parenting program, Purposeful Parenting, and that's where we deal with the different topics on the parenting. But for the sake of the Young and Brave program, I will be combining these two topics, but I will not be going into details. If you want to keep on having our parenting program, then we can also let you know when we have our Purposeful Parenting workshops. That is where we deal in details with our parenting program. So for the Young and Brave program today, we are going to be looking at parenting styles and child development. So those are the two topics that we are going to be combining together. And I am going to start sharing my screen. Bear with me here. I will share my screen. Okay. All right. Make sure that all this got together. All right, so today we are going to be looking at parenting styles and child development. So somebody may ask, what is parenting? And I believe a good number of you can tell me what parenting is because you are all parents from experience. All right, so parenting has been defined as a process of promoting the physical, emotional, social, and intellectual development of a child from infancy to adulthood. So for those of you that are parents, of course, even when they are adults, you are still going to be a parent, because once you're a parent, you're always a parent. Parenting never stops, okay? So according to Wikipedia, Wikipedia defines it as the intricacies of raising a child, and not exclusively for a biological relationship. In other words, you can still be parent a child that is not your biological child, and that's what you hear about adopted children. You know, you can have adopted children, you can be foster parents, you know, so parenting comes in different ways and in different fashions. So parenting is actually the process that prepares the child for independence. So there will be two aspects to this workshop where we'll be doing a presentation, then we will now go into discussion. Okay, so we can share experiences for those of us that are parents. So that'll be two segmented workshop that we'll be having today. So having defined what parenting is, we are going to be looking at the different parenting styles that there are. I want you to know that as a parent, that you give your children a good start in life, you nurture them, you protect them, and you guide them. Different parents have different styles, depending on your temperament, depending on your personality. Now, some people categorized it into 5 different parenting styles, or just categorized it into 4 different styles. So today we chose to go with a group that categorized it into the 4 different parenting styles. Okay, so what is the first parenting style that we have is the permissive one. Okay, and we are going to be looking at the different characteristics. And as we talk, I want you to put yourself in the shoes and be able to decipher which one you belong to. Most parents often work to give their children the best start possible in life, okay? But it's also very important for us to realize that kids are different, okay? They have different temperaments, they have different personalities, they have different growths, okay? So as we try to push our kids into, as we try to fashion them, as we try to guide them, I want you to also bear in mind that of their differences, okay, and of course the stage in which they are, which we'll be looking at at later on along the way. All right, so while parents may want to push their children down in certain parts, a parent's job, actually, as parents, our job is to provide an interface with the world that prepares a child for complete independence. And I think the independence comes more when they are when they are adults, now trying to take care of themselves and also trying to have their own families, and also the ability to pursue whatever paths that they choose to pursue. So the National Academy of Science actually outlines 4 major responsibilities for parents. Number 1, it's maintaining children's health and safety. Number 2, promoting their emotional well-being. Number 3, instilling social skills. And number 4, preparing them intellectually. So these were the 4 major responsibilities that they outlined for parents. And of course, we know that there is more to it than that as well. So for parents, we always, before I go, I want to explain this, before I go into details with not details, but before I talk a bit about the parenting styles. So as parents, I always tell parents, always think about these 4 acronyms when you're relating to your children. The first thing is care. You want to care for them. You want to show them that you want to make them feel accepted. You want to show them that you accept them for who they really are. And also you want to show them affection. That's the first C, which is care. And the second C is consistency. The environment that that they grow in must be a stable environment. It must be a conducive environment. It must be a very, very good environment for them. The third C is choice. Allow them to develop an autonomy, allow them to be able to make their choices. As parents, your job, our job is to guide them into making the right choices, but allow them to make the choices for themselves. That helps them take responsibilities for their choices and therefore their actions. Okay, so those are the 4 C's. Whenever you think about children parenting, always remember that care, consistency, choice, and also consequences. It also helps them realize that there are consequences for their choice, for their actions, for the decisions they make. Okay, so now we are going to look at the 4 parenting styles, and I know we all fall into one category, though there could be a combination of some of these unique attributes that have been put under each of these categories. So as we're talking, I want you to ask yourself, what kind of parent am I? Where do I fall into? Okay, so the first parent that we want to look at is the permissive parent. So who is the permissive parent? The permissive parent, those are the kinds of parents that they are often warm, they are nurturing, they tend to be a little bit inconsistent in their roles and in their disciplines as well. They usually act more like a friend to their children than a role model to them. So oftentimes kids tend to take their freedom for granted. Right, so it's child-driven. Kids really, it doesn't focus on roles, and oftentimes children, they tend to have they take it for granted, and they don't have a structured life. So that is for the permissive parenting. So some of the common traits or attributes that we find associated with that particular kind of parenting is that there's a high responsiveness, the communication is usually open, and usually kids are able to decide for themselves rather than being given direction, okay? And rules and expectations are either not set or they are rarely enforced. So there's a laxity in the way that these rules are being enforced, okay? And so permissive parents are more likely to take on a friendship role, like I said before, than a parenting role. So now let's look at the second type of parenting, second parenting style, and that is the authoritative parenting. So the authoritative parents, they aim to strike a balance between being firm and also being warm and supportive. So instead of forcing children to follow rules, what authoritative parents do is that they are willing to discuss these roles and expectations as a family. This oftentimes they have something we call like a conference table. They sit down and talk and get the ideas or the opinions of their children. So in other words, they solve problems together with their children because of course they brainstorm together as a family. The parents and the children sit together on the conference table and they are able to brainstorm. They also set clear rules and expectations, of course. And there is open communication, of course, to let the kids know that there are consequences for their action. Okay, so what are the common traits that we find? We find high responsiveness as well. And rules rules are clear. Have been set rules are clear, and the expectations as well are clear. Okay, and they also allow natural consequences to occur. For example, if the kids fail their quiz when they don't study, you know, they let them know what the consequences of that is. So the next one that we're going to be looking at, I'm not going into details, okay, because of our time, but I just want to point out all this for you. The next one is neglectful parents. Parents that are not really so much involved with their children's life. So uninvolved parents, they are not able to meet their kids' emotional or physical needs because they're not there. They're always busy with one or the other. They are too busy for their kids, and they're not accepting or involved with their children, and they provide little supervision. Actually, they shift off their kids to other people to take care of them. So neglectful or uninvolved parents, they are absent. They're hardly there because they're pursuing one thing or the other. They provide little nurturance, little guidance. Somebody is the one actually fashioning or shaping the mind of their kids for them. Okay, so what are the common traits? Low responsiveness. Okay, the kids, of course, the response, their response is very, very low. Oftentimes the kids struggle with they struggle with their self-esteem issues, and they have a hard time forming close relationship because they don't know what it is, right? Because the parents are not there to really show them, they've not really experienced it, and so it's hard for you to give what you don't have, right? So because they don't experience it, it's hard for the kids, of course, be able to share it with other people as well. Okay, so and the last type of parenting style that we are going to look at is the authoritarian parent, and I believe some African parents can relate to that because that is the way, that is their style, you know. So authoritarian parents, they are strict in their approach to parenting. They often set high expectations and firm rules without offering kids much support or asking for their input. In other words, you have to do what I say. I don't want to listen to what you say. You can tell me what you want to say later on, but I just have to tell you, you just do what I tell you to do. Okay, so it's parent driven, and they set strict rules and punishment. So in other words, if you don't obey the rules, you will be punished. I know back home where I am from, a parent, if you tell your child to do something and the child doesn't do it, and you come back maybe washing plates, washing dishes, and the child doesn't wash the dish, immediately you come back and you see the first thing is that you're going to go get, there's something we call koboko, is a stick or a cane, you know, you're beating the child. You know why? Because it's a punishment for the child not obeying, not doing what you told them to do. And I believe some of you must have experienced it if you're from that part of the world. Okay, so it is a one-way communication. So it's always a parent saying and doing it, and rather than a two-way communication. So some of the common traits for that parenting style is there is high demand, low responsiveness, of course. Okay, and oftentimes is always say, do it because I say so, not really giving the kids or the children the reason why they should, not letting them understand why they should do it. So authoritarian parenting, they actually use 10 discipline often justified. We call it tough love. That's what it's always called. But that is an attempt somewhat to be in full control. You want to be in control without trying to get a feedback from the children, from the kids that you are parenting. Bear in mind, I won't say that there's one that is best, because every child is different, every family is different. So it's up to you to really decipher, number one, who are you? You have to know yourself as a parent, and also you want to know your child, and that's going to bring us next to the our next topic, child development. But before then, there is one more parenting that I want to attach, and that is I want to talk about, and that is attachment parenting. Some people add it to the different parenting styles. So what is attachment parenting? It comes from the attachment theory. Okay, that's where the name comes from. And it's the belief that infants come hardwired with the need to be nurtured and stay physically close to their primary caregiver for the first few years of their life. And some experts actually say that attachment parenting is a specific subset of the authoritative parenting. That's the second type of parenting style that we talk about, but then it's one that places extra emphasis on affection and physical touch. Okay, so that's just what makes it a little bit different from the categorized for parenting styles that we have. So now that you have seen the different parenting styles, can anyone tell me what parenting style that you think that you might have a tendency towards? For those of you that are parents. You can share, or you want us to leave the discussion to, okay, maybe we'll leave the discussion to later on. So I guess for those of you that don't want to share some of your story why it's still being recorded, okay? So we will leave it to later on while we're discussing, but I'm going to ask you guys this question because I want to know about how you feel about the parenting style and what you see yourself. Okay? So I will continue with the presentation as we talk about child development. Remember, I tell you, you have to know yourself as a parent. You have to know who you are, your temperament, your personality. You have to know what kind of temperament, parenting style that you fall into or that you use. Okay. Now the second thing is that you have to know your child. Like you said, every child is different. The stage they are different. So for today, we are going to be looking at the different stages of a child. There are different stages that children go through, from infancy to adults. So we are going to be looking at child development, and it's been explained as or being defined as a process through which human beings typically grow and mature from infancy to adulthood. So we are going to see that there are different milestones that children go. As you can see the picture, this is a baby. The baby now grows into a toddler. And they keep growing and growing and growing and growing until they become adults. So there are different milestones, and every milestone, the child is different because the child is growing, is evolving from one milestone to the other. And this, the development milestones are things that often children do at certain age. So